Coach Pena here for the Football Engineer, and today we have Coach Dan Rodrigues, head coach of Shawnee State University from Los Angeles, California. How are you doing today?
Good. I'm good, sir. I'm in Ohio. This is where Shawnee State is. It's a beautiful place to be right now, and the weather's holding out pretty good.
Yeah, it's not too cold there today.
No, no, actually, it's sunny out. It's a sunny 30 degrees.
You're doing better than we are here in California. It's foggy where I'm at here in the Central Valley, so it's nice and foggy and but a little warmer, about 40, but it's been foggy here for about a week. So
Oh, I
the
feel you. I
weather,
feel you.
yeah, the weather hasn't been too nice to us here, but other than that, it's going good. So you're heading into your second season at Shawnee State. What's your like long-term vision as you grow the program?
But to be fair, we just finished my second season at Shawnee State, so I was here last year. I got here real late last the 2024, I guess. It was August. It was kind of a last minute thing, and the team did really well. We only had 17 players, but they handled it really well. I was really proud of the team that was here because you've got to get adapted to a new coach, not
Yeah.
having a real deep bench. My second year though, we strengthened the bench. We did a lot better. I mean, I think the team itself really persevered through some tough moments in terms of injuries and guys just not necessarily struggle to get fit to really give big minutes. But I think we also did really well. We definitely improved the record. We went 7-5-5. I was hoping more for a 10 or 11 win season, so some of those ties were a little bit of heartbreak. But I think we did good. I mean, the culture here is changing. We're moving into Division Two, coming to 2026. We're going to Division Two, joining the Mountain East Conference, which is going to be quite a step up in terms of just all around travel, who we face, what we're facing. But the NAI district or the NAI level out here is brutal. We're sandwiched between two or three very good conferences. Our conference was very good as well. We had a national finalist out of our conference this year, which kudos to them. I think they showed that our conference is well respected. So it has been a lot of really great things, a lot of highs, never real too low of lows. It's just you always want to do better. So that's one thing I think we were left with wanting to do better. But overall, I think the guys did a good job.
And then you kind of touched on success. What does success look like for your program in terms of results, culture, academics, and just overall development of humans and athletes?
Yeah, I mean, the success we have is this. Obviously, it's a privilege to be on a team. It's not a right. I think it's important for guys to understand that there's a grind. Anything after high school and club is a step up. It doesn't matter whether you go
Yeah.
JUCO, NAIA, D3, doesn't matter. So we want the culture to be more about, take the grind, enjoy the grind. My mentor used to say, joy is pain, pain is joy, and that's kind of what it is. And then the idea is it's not just soccer, man. It's 3 months of soccer basically, and then maybe a little bit in the spring, but it's really about the holistic avenue of like, can you focus on everything that you need to do when time comes and be consistent? A million coaches will tell you that consistency is the hardest thing. Is discipline. Discipline's a very hard thing as well, but and I think for young men, it's really important that if they can conquer those things and really say to themselves, I want to go do this, but this is what I need to do now, so I'm going to focus on this now. I think that's a real positive. So the culture that we have here, I think, is intense when it needs to be, and we are very on top of things when we have to. Our team GPA has never been below a 3. It's always, it fluctuates, but it's never been below. We have the highest male team GPA that soccer's had in years. We're consistent in that. Our community service efforts and fundraising efforts are fantastic. The guys are always real involved. And I think for my team, we have a good mix of internationals and Americans. So fundraising sometimes is difficult because they can't just go to their aunts and uncles down the street. They
Yeah.
got to like reach out across the water and things. But Shawnee State is a great place, and it's only getting better with them, especially with the growth of our programs. We're getting new facilities, new turf field, and all these things in the next 18 to 24 months. So I really think new sports are coming in as well. The dynamic of the campus is beautiful. The instructors understand athletes and the rigors of what they have to go through, so they're very flexible. And it's affordable. The school's flat out affordable for what you get. I think that's a really tough thing to say nowadays in a lot of schools when you look at just the tuition alone. Some of these places are astronomical, and I think having a place that's affordable and reputable is strong, and I'm very proud to be here because of it.
Yeah. And then what are three non-negotiables you want in your players or that every college player should have?
Again, I think the biggest thing is just consistency, right? Be consistent. Also, know yourself enough to say, here's what I'm really good at. Here's what I really need to work on. Because a lot of times I think players think they're better than what they are. And then all of a sudden, man, when they jump in here and they get smacked in the face the few couple times and they struggle and the speed of play is tough. And I mean, you're playing against men, you're playing
Yeah.
against men now and it gets to be tough. Again, I think there's an enormous amount of pride that someone has to have because you're going to get criticized. You're not going to like the delivery of the coaches all the time. You're not going to like the things they say. But you got to learn how to flex within a team and build yourself up in a team and build others. Because if you're only about you and yourself, you need to play an individual sport. You can't be a part of a team.
Yeah, definitely. I think self reflection, even for us as coaches, is sometimes hard to sit and think like, okay, what do I need to improve, or just in everyday life, how do I improve as a person, and then definitely as a player too. It's a big thing. Like, hey, how can I drop my ego and say improve to be better not only for myself but for those around us.
Yeah, accountability, man. Accountability is big, and that's a tough word for a lot of people to use. Like again, I get some of these kids who have never lost in high school or they never lost in club, and then they lose one game, and it's like the world is ending, and it's like, bro, it's okay, it's okay, we're gonna be okay. Like you're not gonna win everything, so let's learn how to take those L's and learn from it, and that's really what we try to do. But also, I'm gonna be honest. My first 2 weeks of preseason, I put pressure on these guys. I put pressure a lot because I want to see where they're going to give, where they're going to bend, where they're going to break. Are they ready to you know, rise to that next plateau? Peak, plateau. And
Yeah,
it's tough. It's tough, and I'm 51 years old, man, and I'm still trying to learn some of those things too.
yeah, definitely. And then, how would you describe your coaching style?
I think my style is I'm relational with the kids. I'm relational with the team as much as I can be, as much as they let me be. But at the same time, I think I also hold a very dominant expectation. I'm 5'6", but I have big energy, big energy. And I know guys sometimes get a little intimidated with the things that I do and say or what I can do. But honestly, I would never expect them to do anything more than what I have done or know can be done. And I'm flexible. I'm a dad too. So, I get it. I'm a dad, I'm a husband, I'm a brother. So there's a side of me that's kind of soft as well. But the biggest thing is I think the kids know, like I tell them right away, like be punctual, be honest, don't try to be sneaky. Tell me what's going on, and I'll be good with you. If you try to cut corners, cheat people out of, or be sneaky, do things you're not, you can't. I'm gonna see through it because there's a lot of things that they probably think they can get away with that I've already done. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and then ultimately, to whatever you put out into the universe comes back to you slowly in some way or
One
another
hundred
at
percent.
some point. And then let's say I show up to your game to watch your team play or any of your teams play. What style of play would I expect to see? What would your teams be known
Controlled
for in terms
chaos.
of style of play?
Controlled chaos. Control chaos. We play to disrupt, man. Like to be fair, I'm more of a Mourinho guy than I am a Guardiola guy any day of the week. And to be fair, like I believe defense is really important. How we defend and also how we throw our punches. I think my team is very adaptable, but we play very intense. We key in on a lot of tendencies, and they're hungry. Like if my teams aren't hungry, if my teams aren't like those dogs, you got to have dogs. And if
Yeah,
they're not like those dogs, like police dogs on a chain, where you're teasing them to let go, like if we don't have that, then that's going to be a bad day for us because that's kind of how we base it off of. We want to be hungry and eager to show what we can do and be on the winning side of things. And if we aren't, well, we try to go back to the drawing board and fix it. But to be fair, we're intense, and I think everybody who's seen our teams understand any of my teams, my girls teams, my guys teams. They're intense. They play hard. They play eager to get to the ball first and fearless. They got to play fearless, And I don't mind mistakes. I mind it when they don't recover from the mistakes.
yeah, yeah, definitely. And then, what is your typical training session look like to make this a reality when you get on the field?
Yeah. So usually I give those kids, they do the warm ups, jog, stretch, whatever they have to do there, and then after time, I give them a little bit of time to kind of get those jitters out, or I call them the zoomies when they got to chat. So they do a couple little rondos
Yeah,
here and there, and then we get into a lot of competition. Most of my activities have to do with competitions, whether it's pass amounts, crossing lines, breaking lines, a lot of connection type things. And then we go in small sided games. Like the intensity is always ramped up at the beginning of the week. and then we take
Okay.
it down as we go towards a game, But small sided games, and the kids love to be on the gram. So if a small sided team wins, we put them on the gram. We try to hype them up. And at the end of the day, like that's another reason why I think parents want to see their kids work and they want to see what's happening. And we have good days of training and we have tough days of training. And we try to make sure that they kind of blend and meld because can't always give all the sugar without some of the salt, and you got to make
Yeah.
sure that you put them through the work, and the kids do a good job. But at the end of the day, it's always intense, always. And then when we get down to game, day before games, we take a step back. We try to, we look back to see where we were, how we were doing, how did we touch on the things we need to do, and then game day comes and we're ready to rock.
And then for athletes looking to fulfill their college dreams of playing college soccer, when is the right time for players to start their recruiting process?
I think the word dream and recruiting process are very different. Obviously, I think the first thing a player needs to do at a very young age, eighth, ninth grade, is go watch games. Go
Okay.
watch a JUCO game. Go watch a D3. Go watch an NAIA. Go watch D2. Go watch D1. Pay attention to how you take care of your body. Are you sleeping enough? Are you eating enough? Do you feel good? Are you learning your deficiencies? Are you learning your strengths? Are you looking at people who are giving you advice and blowing them off, or are you really paying attention to what they're trying to connect to? And then the recruiting process, obviously, I think by the end of your sophomore year, when you're looking at options, you get a big map, a big area, you pick a big thing. And again, you should be looking at all your options from, like I said, JUCO on through. You also your academic level. If you're a kid that's breezing through high school and you're pretty confident, you got all your NCAA qualified classes and they're, A, high B's, high A's, then maybe you should go to a four-year university, but just know that playing time is going to be different. You're probably going to sit, you're going to maybe learn, be behind somebody. If you get 7 games as a freshman, man, guess what? That's great. That's a lot,
Yeah.
but, and then as you move on, again, look at your grades. I love the guys that go to JUCO. I love JUCO. I went to JUCO. I was first gen. And I can't tell you, like, I'm still friends with my JUCO teammates from today that right now at 51 than I was with anybody else prior to that or even after that. And I think that's a really valid area to go to a JUCO, play, learn the college rigors of school and the classes and getting tutoring and help. And then, test your waters because I see a lot of kids jump to, 4-year schools because their parents want them to. And I did it with my older kid and he struggled, man. He had a good time in soccer, but he had a tough time in school, and he
Yeah.
wasn't ready. And I wish I could go back and have sent him to a junior college first because I think his journey would have been different. So again, I think it's important that when you're going through the recruiting process, you look at all those parameters and then your budget because full rides are far and few between,
Yeah. Yeah.
and you got to have a budget. And if you can find a place to go to school and take a little loan out here and there, or if your GPA carries into a D3, there's nothing wrong with going to a D3 and knowing that it's your brains that got you there, not just your football. And I think a lot of kids need to look at that as well.
Yeah, I think you made some good points definitely about academics and also academically, not every player goes pro, not every player maybe continues after college or maybe they play,
Yep.
USL or something on the side, but maybe it doesn't lead to a full-time soccer gig or as a pro, so then it's what comes after that as well. And academically you got to find the right fit so that you have opportunities after, college soccer and what comes after that.
100%. 100%. Where you can't stay young and beautiful forever. I
Yeah.
mean, I can.
Yeah.
But
And then you also mentioned, going through the process as a parent. What's one of the biggest recruiting mistakes that players and parents make going through their recruiting journeys?
don't write emails for your kids. Don't write emails for your kids. Just don't say, hi, my name is so and so, and my son plays here. Don't do that. Don't do that. And at the end of the day, the parents also have to feel good about where their child's going to go to school at, and then know that when you drop them off on the steps, they're 18 years old. They're their own adults. They need to manage, and don't call the coaches for conversations or anything like that. The biggest thing is your child, who's a young man or young woman now, is responsible for communication with you. They're going to let you know what they want you to know, and you don't need to chase any other thing. And unfortunately, if it comes down to playing time and things like that, ask your son or daughter what's happening in practice. How come? Have you had discussions with the coach? But don't do anything for them anymore. By this time, they should be able to do their laundry, feed themselves, dress themselves, shave, bathe, whatever, and get to places on time and punctual. Because you, as a parent, hopefully you've done your job, and the parent and your son or daughter have listened, and now they're a contributing adult to the environment they're in. Because I've seen kids come in and they're very far behind the eight ball, and it's very sad to see that because maturity waits for nobody. You either going to get it or you don't, and if you're not, it's going to come to you a hard way. And I'm a big proponent of maturity. Like, you better come in ready to handle some things that you're not going to have your mom and dad around to be on their shoulder for. You got to tough it out.
I mean, yeah, I agree. Some days are hard to get up and do the laundry though, man, and shave and but
No, for sure, all day.
you definitely got to do it though. Uh, when did you realize that that coaching was your calling?
Oh, that's a good one. In '96, I went to an MLS combine at San Jose when it was a San Jose Clash. My
Okay.
little brother, who was 12 at the time, was with me, and a friend of mine. They had 1,300 people. They cut down to 100. I made that. And then the next day, they brought in the other pros that didn't have to go through it, and they only took two from that combine. I had already had a son. I was 19 when I had my first son, so I needed something to do, and I was chasing indoor teams. I was chasing a bunch of teams, and I had good experiences in New York. I played in New York for a while and had a really good experience there. And then finally, when that combine happened in MLS, it was just I just knew at that time it was probably done. And driving home, licking my wounds, my brother said to me, "What's wrong?" And my best friend goes, "What's wrong?" And I said, "Man, I don't know what I'm going to do. I miss it. This is what it is." And then my little brother goes, "Why don't you coach me? Just coach. You coach me, and I'm a good player." And he was a good player. My brother made national pool. My brother was a U14th or U16 national pool. My brother went to college, played 4 years. My brother, he was top 32 in the nation coming out ODP back in the day. And now he works for soccer.com. And it's funny because soccer has always been big for us, but my brother was really my proponent. When clubs would come after him, they would say, who coached you? And he goes, "Oh, my brother." So I was known as Mikey's brother, not Stan Rodriguez. I was known as Mikey's brother. And they're like, "Dude, Mikey's brother has a coach. He's a coach. Get him." And then I started coaching high school, and I was an assistant coach at a high school in my area. We won the state title in 1999. Being the assistant coach was a good lesson for me. I coached my first club team after that, and then, um, honest to God truth, it was one of those things where, okay, I'm not playing much anymore. I have a son. I love doing this. Back then, I wasn't making full time money, so I had to
Yeah,
hustle.
yeah.
I didn't go back to school and get my degrees until late 20s, early 30s, maybe even older. Once I got those, I had a great mentor. He gave me a 5 year plan. I did it in seven, and here I am.
Then you touched a bit on your playing career. How did your time as a player shape you now as a coach?
It taught me not to be so naive and arrogant. Like, I thought I was something good, and then I realized, I got knocked down a few pegs a lot, and I think that was the great thing about it was like, as far as I got knocked down, I didn't stop. And stop. I could have stopped a long time ago. I could have stopped coaching a long time ago with all the things that happen to coaches, because we're replaceable at any moment,
Yeah.
and all these things that, if you haven't been let go, if you haven't been ridiculed, if you haven't been, something, you haven't coached enough. And luckily, I just don't stop, and I'm ambitious, and I love this, and I love this environment, and I think all coaches do. And that's the thing. Like, once you get it, you get it. And then there's going to be a day when, you're like, "I'm done. I'm done. I'm done with this recruiting. I'm done with talking to ADs. I'm done with all this," but I'm not there yet. So playing for me was like, I was always told, I'm 5'6", man. I'm 5'6". I was 155 pounds. I thought I was Romario for like the longest time. I was playing up front. I played winger. I played up front. And then I had an Italian coach one day tell me, you have a nasty attitude. Let's put you as a six. I didn't even know what a six was. And then he's like, "You're gonna play like Gattuso." So I had to watch Gattuso, and then I played as a six, and I sat in, and it was fine. I mean, it developed me. But again, from being like a bench player to a starter, and then going back to a bench, and then eventually, being the leading scorer on a team. I mean, I went through a lot of things, and it humbled me. And I had other people humble me and tell me, "You're not as good as you think you are. You need to work on these things." And I was like, "Okay, got you." And that was great, man. It was feedback is what was great. And even if it was negative feedback, it was still great.
Yeah, like I said, you definitely can learn a lot from feedback. And what's something that you give feedback on now or teach your players or young players now that you wish you learned earlier in your own playing journey?
I think things have changed dramatically. Like, for example, the discipline, right? The discipline and picking yourself up off the ground. Pick yourself up, keep going. Pick yourself up, keep going. And sometimes kids have it and sometimes they don't. The generations are different now. And I don't want to get into the softness of what things are different now compared to back then. But like for example, like touch, like, and it's not just your first touch, it's your first, your second. Do you have a plan? And all honest to God truth, ball striking, all these shoes and all these different things, side laces, with a Copa Mundial, you had like a size of a nickel sweet spot, right?
Yeah.
And now you have all these shoes that makes their feet this wide and they can mishit it and still get it somewhere. There's no real technique of pinging a ball or being able to really drive through a ball. So simple little things like striking a ball, it's tough to find guys who can really put their foot through the ball, and everybody wants to be the next, dribbler or the next guy that does this. Man, let's just play. Put the ball on the spot. Let's move. Let's attack. Let's get going together. So I think if I was to go back, first of all, I probably would have worked more on my fitness when I was younger and be consistent, because there was probably a 3 year run where I was like the best I could be, the fittest I could be. And I needed more discipline to do that. And the other thing is just keep working on your touch and your weak foot. Work on your weak foot. And those are the main areas. And then at the end of the day, know when to dribble and dribble when you can get in and out of places, and then don't be afraid to shoot, don't be afraid to cross the ball, even if you don't feel like somebody's there. Just go, man, just feel it. And that's the thing, the feel of the game, the feel of what it's like. When I tell kids, I can feel it, you should be able to feel it. I don't know if kids feel the things anymore, like the instincts. There's not a lot of instincts out there, and I think it's tough to find.
Yeah, I kind of had a coach tell me the same thing, and that it was interesting because he could always feel when a goal was coming. He would always tell
Yep.
you like a few seconds ahead, like, "Hey, there's gonna be a goal right here," and it's something that I never really
Yep.
understood in my youth days.
Mhm.
And then as I grew older into a player, I started to kind of feel it. And then now as a coach,
Mhm.
it's a lot different. I'm like, okay, I can see it happen before it happens. You can just kind of feel it. But as a player,
Yep.
that's definitely something hard to develop, and it definitely takes time to begin to feel it. When either you're gonna create the opportunity, when you're gonna score, or when you're gonna, you can feel it, start to feel it in a game when your teammate is gonna score as well or create those opportunities. But like I
No,
said,
one hundred percent.
that's definitely something that takes
100.
time to develop.
Yep, 100%, man. And it's funny because again, I see a group of coaches, older coaches, and they get it. I mean, there's so many. I've been lucky to be around so many great coaches, and like Ralph Perez, Eddie Soto, Connie Constant, all these guys that have so many stories of their own. But then they tell you when something's coming, and you can feel it. And then sooner or later, when you got that feeling, it feels nice because now you know the experience paid off. Good or bad, it paid off.
Yeah, and then staying kind of in the youth realm, there's a big debate right now over whether we should start with technical based training or tactical based training. What thoughts do you have on that, or what's your opinion on that?
For me, I'll be honest, the culture here in the United States is so different than anywhere else I visited or been to or played in, right? I will always go back and say, like, anybody can take a basketball and go find a court. You know what I mean? They can go find a court and shoot
Yeah,
hoops. And even kids, you ask any kid, oh, I can make a layup, whatever. They get the idea because there's so many courts available. The more and more I go back and I look at what courts are available in other countries or other places that really do lead, is the technical side is futsal, and
yeah,
I mean, when I say futsal, play futsal every day, small sided, and you can basically find a way to play futsal in your own home. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
just
yeah,
futsal and technical skill. And I remember when I used to walk around my house and just juggle a ball, and my mom would be like, "Hey, Mira, he'll put it away," and I'm
yeah,
like, okay, but I'd go play. And it was hard. I was a single kid, so I was like, I didn't have anybody to play with. And I'd go find a wall and hit a ball off it. But then eventually, I'd go play basketball. You know what I mean? It was just the way the culture was here. I could find more kids to play basketball than I did playing, a little small sided soccer. But now,
yeah.
obviously, like in LA, you got US 5, you got all these places, to now you can go play and pick it up. There's futsal's only stadiums now, and I think that's great. But I think honestly, here in the United States, I think nothing is going to really change until we find the kids who are out on the streets playing street soccer in some capacity, whether it's futsal or street soccer, just in some capacity. For me, that's where the technical side will grow without me having to stand next to you and drill you and do
Yeah.
exercises and exercises and exercises, right? You want to find the natural kids, and that says a lot. So I would always say technical first, because the tactical, to be fair, I've seen kids who are badass little dribblers. They don't care about the tactics. They just want to dribble. They cut
Yeah,
people up and they put balls away, and you're like, well, so much for my tactics. You can't get the ball away from them, you know? So
yeah,
for me, it's always going to be technical first, you know, and I've been blessed again to see little kids grow up with the technical side, and then all of a sudden they're playing great. I mean, you got Rubio Rubin playing at, Locomotive in El Paso, and I saw that kid play when he was like 7, 8 years old, and he was incredible. And then he went on this wonderful growth, and his technical side is great. His tactical side, he's smart. But I'll tell you what, his technical side, he was beautiful to watch as a youth.
yeah. And then sort of staying in youth development. So, how else would you fix the youth development setup in America?
Oh, that's way above my pay grade, my guy. But if I was to really think about it, I mean, obviously, we talk about this pay to play system, and I think there's some clubs out there that I've seen personally, like Tuzos in Arizona. They have a really good setup, so they make it really affordable. I've never seen a club that makes it affordable fail. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah,
they
yeah,
understand that it's not always about your coaches that need to get paid, umpteen thousands of dollars. And I'm not sure if I really ever felt like full-time salaries for youth clubs, unless I don't even know what their KPIs or whatever they, I don't know how they rate themselves. You know what I mean?
yeah,
Like, just because you have all these national championships and you have all these kids going pro, okay, that's great, but what other things do you have? Like, I really believe the pay to play system has to have some sort of system where there maybe it's just cheaper all the way across the board. Because
yeah,
back in the day, man, before we had all these, acronyms for ECNLs and all these other things, and MLS Nexus, I remember when there used to be one system only. The most
yeah,
badass players used to play in it and used to end up going out there, and you never knew what corner or what street or what hood had the next great team. And a lot of those times those teams were just put together by people, make it cheap and let's go play. And man, they were awesome. I saw Watsonville one time, bro.
yeah,
Watsonville were crushing people left and right. I didn't even know where Watsonville was. Oh, and all of a sudden they came out of nowhere, and they had kids on the national team, and they were Latinos, and they would run at kids. And man, I saw beautiful things, and that was years ago. I mean, I'm talking like 20 years ago, maybe more. And you just don't see stuff like that no more, And they didn't care about they had, dude, their jerseys had taped numbers, bro. Like, they
yeah,
didn't care
yeah.
about the cost. They were just out there balling. And I'm afraid you're not going to see a lot of that nowadays.
Yeah, I know with the MLS next, and it's almost just like a name. Everybody's competing for the name, and even the parents, like you just see it. Everybody's like, "Oh, well, I play this or I play that." And even in my days of playing in the youth, there were times when you would show up to a tournament and you could play, the LA Galaxy Academy, or you could play
Yeah,
you could play anybody, and if
yep,
you were a good team, you could get into a good tournament based maybe off your ranking, and you could play anybody on
yep,
that day. You know,
yep,
there were times when we played the number one team in the country, and the number one team in the country
yep,
wasn't the MLS Next Academy, or it was just
yep,
some random local club who was just dominating. In my time, that the team that won two or three straight national championships in each age group as we moved up. And they weren't an MLS Next team or anything. They would go and beat LA Galaxy 4-5-0, or go beat any
yeah.
MLS academies 4-5-0, and nobody knew who they were. But you don't have that anymore, I
I
think.
Well, no, I just think that, I think I always like praise those people that are courageous enough to put on, they get a group of kids, they make a team, and that team grows up together, loving the game, and they're just passionate, and it's
Yeah,
just different. And I again, kudos to those clubs and kudos to those people that do it, and the clubs that pop up and they have a great time and then they disappear after all the kids age out. Okay, but at the same time, there's always something out there, and again, I would still would like to see the youth level just get straightened out. Let's just go across the board, one number, one thing, one this, one that, and make it strong again. Because again, it's just so spread out. All the talent's so spread out. Back in the day, I think it was easy to identify talent when there was everybody was together versus you know everywhere else.
and
I
then
mean, the
you
question is, do you really,
but
the question is, do you really get to see the best of the best play each other anymore? And unless some of these kids are paying $5,000 in club, you don't, because I can see a bunch of kids where they don't pay nothing and they're balling compared to some of these other places.
yeah,
Again, again, it's just a different culture, and I'm hoping it changes eventually, because the youth is going to have to drive the success of the olders, and it's tough for me to to not see us do so great on the main stage national programs. Even the women, I think now is you got some parity amongst other countries now, as we can see there the other countries came up. So it's tough. It's really tough to see, but I'm still proud of hopefully us producing those players one day. Can you imagine like LeBron on the soccer field, bro? Like if we had
Yeah.
LeBron on soccer field, or somebody like that that just came out who's just a magnificent athlete, but has the culture and the technical and the tactical behind it, and this it'd be crazy. It's just crazy.
Yeah, I think that's where the other countries have gotten ahead of us really since the beginning, since soccer culture in the US is still growing, but that's where, you end up with a Messi, you end up with your Ronaldos, you end up with,
Yeah.
somebody like upcoming, like a Lamine Yamal and these sorts of when you come up in the culture with the right setup, then you produce elite athletes. And that's not where we are quite yet, but we're slowly progressing up.
I mean, I think eventually technology will help with those things. I mean, as you can tell, like we have a lot of different technology for performance, mental performance, all
Yeah,
these different rating systems and stuff. I think hopefully, again, that'll also get a little easier to do. But also what I love is like, I mean, I've done it. I think we have way too many critics. Too many
yeah,
critics. Like at the end of the day, I know we want to have a style, and that's the great thing about soccer is like we talk about the style, we talk about the lineup, the formations. I don't hear that in basketball, bro. I hear that like get it down
yeah,
the court,
yeah,
put it in the bucket. I have the most buckets, I win. You know what I mean? And I
yeah.
understand that I'm sure there's a technical side to it too, but I like to see results, and I like to see drama, and thank goodness soccer is like a novela every other day.
Yeah.
It's another story, it's another battle, it's another lucha. But at the end of the day, man, let's get some results. Like let's be positive about it, like let it go. There's so many things, even in small worlds, college and club, there's so many dynamics of politics and everything. Unfortunately, bro, like you just never know what that coach or that person or those players are putting up with or not putting up with. And it just plays a role. And, but at the end of the day, when we blow the whistle and we're in between those lines, let's just get a result. Let's find a way to get a result, you know?
And then let's just talk like overall soccer culture. How have you seen that grown in America since you've been in the game for a long time?
Oh man. Okay, so I was 20 years old. I think I was 20 years old. 94 World Cup. I was living in Norwalk, California with my tío and tías. I had my son and his mother with me, and I got to go to Fullerton, right? And I got to go watch Cal State Fullerton. I got to go watch Brazil train over there, right? I got to go see Romario and Bebeto in front of me. And then I got to go to like they had a soccer, like little, like not a convention, but like a pro-am where you can go play with
Okay.
players and blind soccer. And I got to go see Tawichi. I think the culture in the United States has grown in the popularity, of course, in the commercial aspect, right? So you got the Nike commercials, Adidas, you got all these different things to hype the players, the you got so much now publicity. It's almost too much, right? It's almost too much.
Yeah,
But the
yeah,
good thing is you also can find soccer on TV pretty readily. Now it's streaming and all these pundits and everything. So I think the culture is growing. I just don't know what information is really sticking versus just being dismissed and moving on, right? And it happens at all levels, right? Like we
yeah,
you know we have an ongoing struggle. We're just changing the calendar right now in the MLS. There's a salary cap. We're also struggling with promotion relegation. We're struggling with different levels of colleges. Like we're struggling to get these guys in, just to kind of get everybody on the same page of what we're trying to do. I think it's good that we're growing, but I also know that with growth comes pains and comes all kinds of different, you know, ideas. And I think it takes a long time to really streamline what we have to do. And like you said, I kind of think we're behind the eight ball in a lot of places, but we've also seen a lot of positive growth. Our women's game our pro league is great. The MLS is getting better and getting more exciting, especially now the calendar I think is changing is going to help. You've got some really great coaches in the MLS that are making moves. You got Mikey Veras in San Diego, who's fantastic, and he's come up from a really good grind. You got a lot of things positive, and I just hope that the next generation, as we've improved in players and in leaders and again in federations and all these things, that we get to see a lot of positive growth, and that we eventually can start creeping into those talks about a World Cup final, World Cup
yeah,
semifinal, and be
yeah,
consistent.
yeah. And then you a lot of different levels. You've coached at multiple different levels as well, being in the NAIA, JUCO.
Yeah.
D2 and D1. What's the biggest difference between each of those levels as a coach and for players as well?
Well, I mean, I think the money makes the world go around. The money makes the world go around. So if you're at a D1, and you got budget, and you got, your max full rides, you can do a lot of things. But the tough thing is that you still got those other D1s out there. These conferences, having UCLA and all those guys jump to the Big Ten, or the ACC, or these Power Five programs, they're tough. And then you lost the Pac-12 in the West Coast, which I think was a big hit, and they're trying to bring it back. I mean, the biggest difference is money. Money. I've seen some really great players that can't afford to go to college, and that's where college helps. Like, you find a great player and you can give them a scholarship. Well, boom, you're in. You got a guy
Yeah,
now that no one else saw coming, whether the club or not. I'll be honest, I've seen a lot of great players with very low budgets, and on the other side, I've seen some really decent players, or maybe a little less, with high budgets that can afford college. But I do think there's a place for them too. I think that it's just the budget, man. It's hard. Like, I've been at schools with no budget. I've been at a D2 with we
yeah,
had no scholarships, none. And I can't tell you how hard that is, because you want to win and you got kids trying their best and you're doing everything you can. But unfortunately, you got a school down the street that has 5 or 6 scholarships. They're going to bring a better quality of player because they can afford to pay them to come in or pay their schooling. And I think that's big. But you know what? The other thing that I will say is, at all levels, everybody, the majority, between coaches and players, love relationships. You love giving opportunities to kids that get it and they get the idea of the grind. You love seeing growth. There's so many successes that can't be measured in wins and losses. You just can't. And that's addicting. That's addicting. That's more addicting sometimes than the just winning. Because
yeah,
if you're only after wins, man, you're gonna be lonely, because it's tough to get those too.
yeah,
But you got to learn. And yes, there's big wins, there's tough losses, and vice versa. But man, that's what keeps the fuel in the tank. And I think at all levels, that's the common bond. But the thing that separates them most is location, budget. Because I'll tell you, when I was at Dominguez, I could call a kid and go, "Hey, man, come visit, come check out. We're right at the Galaxy campus. We got the beach 12 minutes away. We got
yeah,
this." And then when I was in Wyoming, I'm like, "Hey, man, we're right by Kanye and Yellowstone. What can you do?" It's just a different conversation. And at the same time, it's exciting for coaches, because I mean, I've seen the world, I've seen the nation because of my soccer travels.
yeah,
And I get to meet kids from all over the nation, all over the world, because of soccer. So the greatest thing is about that too, it's like, again, it's an international language, man. And I mean, I got a couple kids here now that are just having a great time, and they don't know the difference between Ohio and LA. You know what I mean? And
yeah,
it's fantastic.
yeah. And then, like you said, you've traveled around. You've also built a few programs pretty much from scratch. How do you implement a winning culture quickly so that your program builds faster and expands quicker?
I've had shots taken at me because of how my culture is and stuff, but for me, it's just the grind. You gotta love the hard times, man. And I think that's something that people have to learn young. You gotta love the hard times, whether it's in a relationship, whether it's work, whether it's in a school, in a classroom. You just gotta love the hard times, because once you're through the hard times, you've learned something, and you probably gained something. And if you've lost something, maybe losing isn't, maybe you lost something, but it really ends up not being a loss. You know what I mean? Means
Yeah,
you learn something and you gain from it. And sometimes, what comes to you is not always good. It's there to teach you a lesson, and you move on, right? And I've been a witness to all those things. Not all my jobs have been peachy and great. Not all my positions have been great. I haven't always been great in all my positions. So it's a learning lesson. But I mean, I think the biggest piece of it is that my culture and what I put together is, when I look for people with like-minded goals and like-minded ideas. And if you can get them on the same page at the same time, and pushing and supporting one another, then you have a great culture. And even though you might have some people that call other people out, because you're never going to be best friends with everybody. You're never going to like everybody. But you have to learn how to work with them, how to adapt with them, and then at the end of the day say, "Hey, you know what? I appreciate you, and I hope you appreciate me for what I bring to the table." And it just might be a different of philosophies, but as long as the outcome is the same, where we want to make something better, then that's our culture, man. We're good. Like, let's go. How do I help you? How do you help me? And let's stay. Let's do this thing. And whether I have kids here that speak various different languages, and the greatest thing is they all understand the final grind. When we all put that jersey on together and we step out on that field and we do, whether it's community service, whether it's fundraising, they grind and they push it, and they don't want to be outdone by each other. And I think that's the nice thing too. Have that little sense of competition, that little sense of orgullo. You got to be proud,
Yeah, yeah.
and after that, I think that's what it is. Be proud. Don't be arrogant, but be proud.
And then having moved around the country, how do you, I guess this is more of a personal question, but how do you have that
Yeah, yeah.
conversation with your wife, with the missus, that you're moving again?
Well, at one time we moved 8 times in 10 years, I think, or something like that. Let me tell you, I had my mentor once tell me, "Go home." He asked me in a parking lot at 2 a.m. in the morning. He goes, "What do you want to be in this soccer world?" And I was just a club coach. I was a new club coach. I said, "Eventually, I want to be a college coach." And he goes, "Are you sure?" And I said, "Yeah." He goes, "Do you have a partner?" I said, "Yeah, I have a girlfriend." He goes, "Go home right now and break up with her. Break up with her today at this moment, because you're never going to find a woman that can handle what you're going to have to do and what you're going to go through." And I said, "But you did." And he goes, "Have you met my wife?" He goes, "She's built different, bro. She's built different." And I have to give it. She's an amazing woman, but she was tough. And at the end of the day, I at that night I went home at 2 o'clock in the morning, and I woke my girlfriend up at the time, and I said, "We got to break up. That's it. We got to break up. We can't do this. You're never going to be able to handle this. It's crazy." She was like, "Are you nuts? Are you crazy?" She goes, "I'm in this with you." And she says, "That's it." And she's here.
Yeah,
And she's here.
yeah, that's
Oh, sorry, man. That caught me.
no, no, for sure. Like I said, that's a great bit of advice, because it is a lot of sacrifice for you,
No, bro. It's
for your
26,
family.
26 years. Yeah,
Yeah,
26 years. My kids have done it too. They moved several times. But man, it was great. Like, we would do it all again. And you know, 26 years. So it's been good. Sorry, that caught me off guard.
no, no, you're good. Like I said, it's definitely, I know from other college coaches who I've talked to, it the sacrifice, for not only yourself but for your family as well. And
Oh yeah.
we owe a lot to our families, not just as coaches, but as people, because they often sacrifice a lot so that we can achieve
Oh,
our
massive.
dream and go
No,
far.
man, it's massive. I mean, I have 3 boys. I have a 32-year-old. I have a 21-year-old who's playing here for me right now, and he's fantastic. And then I got a 13-year-old, and they all love it, man, and they ride. And like I said, unfortunately, they can't always put in their roots in places because we go, and this is how the coaching world is. But man, I owe them a lot, like you said, and they always support one another, and that's the other thing. You got to have a good team at home to have a good team at your school.
I totally agree. And then, what advice would you have for a young coach like myself, or for other young
Yeah.
coaches?
I would always say seek mentorship, seek out other people, learn
Okay.
their stories, take a little bit of everybody and take what you can and what you can use in your coach's toolbox as well. Find the environments that make you have fun. Cause like at the end of the day, man, I've never been a coach that heard other coaches say, "I don't want to have fun." We do this because
Yeah.
we have
Yeah.
fun. We started playing the game because we were having fun, and you got to have fun. And if you can make it fun and inviting and keep that little bit of youth in your system for as much as you can, for as long as you can. Even, I'm 51, bro, and I feel like I've been doing this forever, and it's been like, I've been doing this for over 20 something years, and I love it. And I love every bit of it. And I would do it again. Even like I said, like this morning, bro, I had to get in here at 6:45. My youngest son came with me today so he could train in the gym while we did a futsal class, and he was here for two and a
Yeah.
half hours. He's homeschooled, so he can do that. And it's just that little bit of youth. When I see him excited about doing it, that makes me excited, And then I had a bunch of guys in my office earlier, like talking about different things they want to try. And like it's great to feel. It keeps you young. But for a young coach, I would definitely say find mentorship, man, and don't be embarrassed to walk up to somebody and say, "Hey, I saw this session you did. I'd love to know your thoughts of it. This is what it is." And I also remember certain players. I used to be that guy, and I had coaches sometimes look the other way and dismiss me and be like, "Whatever." And I remember those coaches by name more than the ones that sat down, because I thought to myself, "Man, like you're such a great coach, but what an ass of a person. Like, don't be like
Yeah.
that. Like spread that knowledge, bro." Like I tell you, I've learned more from those coaches in those environments than I ever did paying for a USSF coaching license or anything like that. Like those licenses to me, yeah, sure, you sometimes you got to get them, and they're this and that. But at the end of the day, the experience that me sitting down next to Ralph Perez, sitting down next to Eddie Soto, sitting with coaches, back in the day, like Nick Carlin Voigt from Portland, or Leonard, or all these other coaches that have just come around their way, or people that I got to play with and see in person and meet. And I mean, I learned more from those moments that I cherish versus sitting at a USSF licensing, having somebody who's hasn't been around the game for a long time telling me that, I got to do this and that, and regurgitate it later for a test. That wasn't something that I really truly enjoyed.
Yeah, I agree. I think I've in my own short coaching experience, I've learned a lot just from being around people, being on the field. In coaching, the best way to do it is just try things that other people are doing, learn from other people, and just see what comes off, what works. And even between teams, sometimes things work, and then you go to another team, you try it with another team, and you're like, this doesn't work, so I gotta reshape what I'm doing to fit
One
those
hundred
players.
percent, man. 100%. I was just at the coaching convention. I just got back this week. And it was so nice to be there with, again, the convention was probably a little thinner than I thought it was going to be versus the previous ones, but just networking and talking with guys briefly. And at the same time, we're sharing ideas and players, and we're passing players' names around like, oh man, he would fit in your conference and he would fit well here. So just the camaraderie and the network. I'll tell you what, when I leave this game, the only FOMO I'm going to have is, missing the people and some of those things. The rest of it is going to be what it is. For me, it's always going to be like the experiences I have met with coaches, like-minded individuals, Eddie Soto taught me that. Like-minded individuals. And that's something that always is intoxicating, because when you're on the same wavelength as people, you can really jive and just and get that vibe. It's like a good cumbia, everybody's
Yeah,
getting
yeah,
the dance and everybody's getting their flavor in it. And man, like I said, there's so many guys out there that are just behind the scenes on the grind, making players better. You got Jimmy Obaleda out there in Boca, Boca OC down in Anaheim. You got all these guys that are, some people are like, they're this and they're that. But bro, when they put the product on the field, something is working. Something, they're
yeah,
developing people, they're developing players. And again, I would always say find mentorship and never be embarrassed. And if those people blow you off, sometimes you got to say, hey man, I'm just trying to learn something. Can you share? And
yeah,
maybe
yeah.
they listen. And to this day, I have people that I know that I pick up on the phone. Anson Dorrance, bro, I have a jersey right here. Anson Dorrance at University of North Carolina. My first program I ever took was Eastern Oregon University, and built it from scratch. And he sent me that for me to put in my office. Dude, Anson Dorrance, he's won 20 something national titles, and the dude
Yeah,
sends me
yeah.
a jersey because we met and we chatted. And to this day, he still remembers my name. And that was since 2010. That's big time, bro. That's big time.
And then, coach, what do you want to be remembered for when it's all said and done? When you're out of soccer, what do you want to be remembered for as a coach and as a person?
Oh man, that's a tough one. Honestly, just somebody that put out good people. Good
Yeah,
people. Good people came through my program and they remember the grind. Somebody who's willing to like extend a hand, even if it gets bit, which I've done. I've helped people out and people have bitten the hand before. And, I can only say that it hurts when you get betrayed like those type of things. But I want to be remembered to at least be helping people and putting out good people from programs. And also, I'm not afraid to take programs that other coaches don't want and try to do
yeah,
something with them. I think always trying to do the most with the least is important to have before you can go on to those programs where you have good budgets and stuff like that, because now you know where to put your money when you need it. You know what I mean? So at the end of the day, I think just being a person who's making good people and tough as nails teams. I want my teams to always be hard to play against and tough as nails. And I think I've done that over the time. Even with the toughest situations I've been in, my teams have always somehow come up to rise, and they just don't quit the grind, and they put out good work, and of course I would like to win a national championship one day or this or that, but I think I've won a lot in my own ways, and my life lessons that I've learned, I can't ever live without, and I would do it all over again.
yeah. You touched on life lessons. I'm a young man in my life journey so far. What life advice would you have for me or for others along our life journey?
Don't take no for an answer. Don't take no. Listen, before I got my first college job, I applied 272 times to different places. 272 rejection letters. And even in these last few years, when I've applied for other jobs here and there and I get the rejection letters, I keep them. I keep them in a file in my email. And now I probably have like over 300 and something, but I keep them because I want to remember, and the tough thing is that you always have to be humble and you always have to learn. And even when sometimes you feel like you're feeling yourself a little bit, you better check yourself because that's when you're going to get humbled real quick. I'm still thriving to be, even at 51, I'll be someone's assistant. I have no problem if I believe in them and I enjoy them. And I went from being a head coach to Eddie Soto's assistant at Dominguez Hills when I got there. And I mean, to be fair, it was the best experience for me and it humbled me a lot and it taught me a lot of things. And I would always do it again. And I actually went back and I was his volunteer assistant in 23 for a minute to kind of get myself back together again because I had such a bad experience in another location and it was worth it. And I would do it over and over again. And when you have people in your corner like that, you've already won, my guy. You've already won, and you've got people
Yeah,
who can take care of you like that and coach you up, not baby you, not coddle you, but to tell you, pone las pilas, let's go. You got to get your shit
yeah,
together. Like, bro, that's the best thing you can have. And it's your wife, your friends, your family, and you know who your friends are. When shit gets dark like that and things, you know who your friends are. And you got to cherish those people always.
yeah. Definitely, I agree. That's some great advice. The next bit of segment I have for you is just some quick fire questions, so we can get to know you a little bit better.
Okay.
What's your favorite club to support?
It depends what country, but I'm always gonna. I have a fat ass Real Madrid tattoo on my calf. I don't care what anybody says. I love it. But again, different leagues, different teams, but Real Madrid's on my body, so that's probably the one I'm gonna go with.
There you go. And then who's your favorite all time player?
Oh man, you had to throw that. Oh, it's gonna be El Fenomeno. It's gonna be El Fenomeno, Ronaldo, or it's gonna be Bebeto, bro. Because when I in my best playing days, I was 155, 8% body fat, and I played like Bebeto. I mean not Bebeto, Romario. Romario was
Okay.
my guy. So Romario, and Ronaldo, bro. R9. That's it.
And then who is your footballing idol? Sometimes people have a different idol than their favorite player. Who is your idol? Who inspired
Yeah,
you?
it's gonna be between Ronaldinho and Maradona. Those
Okay.
two are just there's a lot, and I'll be honest, like there's certain guys that I like look at, like Fernando Redondo. He wasn't fast, badass dribbler, but he was so good on the ball, and
Yeah.
but those guys out there, I'd have to say Ronaldinho because I like the essence, his flair, I like the essence, the love of the game, right? And of course Maradona because he was just like, I'm gonna do it my way, even if it kills me, bro. I'm doing it my way, so I got to give it to him.
Yeah. And then who's your favorite coach or your coaching idol?
Oh man. Well, I'm definitely a Mourinho guy, but if I have to go way back in the books, like way back in the day, oh man, I don't know. It's tough to say. It's tough to say. I'm a Conti guy too, but I'm probably more of a Mourinho guy just because I like his honesty in terms of saying, I don't care how we look, how we play. We're gonna play to win, and it's ugly, but sometimes he does it, And
Yeah.
I think it's always very interesting for me. But I'm gonna say Mourinho. Mourinho for me right now.
And then what's your preferred formation if you have one?
I mean, for me, it's always going to be either the 4-3-3 or just like blatant, just surface stuff. 4-3-3. I like the 4-4-2 as well. A diamond, I like that a lot. But I'm gonna probably say 4-3-3.
And then what's your favorite genre of music or musical artist? Who's your favorite artist?
Ooh, I'm a house junkie. I'm a hip hop junkie. I'm 51. I've been around as long as hip hop's been around. I taught history of hip hop in a class. I lived in the Bronx. I got a New York tat on my arm. I got LA tats. I got cassettes. I got cassettes on my arm. All Tribe Called Quest. I got Beastie Boys. I got De La
Yeah.
Soul. I got Biggie. I got Wu Tang. I got Wu Tang. So I mean, I'm a junkie for sure. But when it comes to old school, like when I was living in LA, the house music scene, I was big in the house music scene for a long time.
Okay. And then who would be
I,
your
I was a
favorite?
rebel, bro. I was a rebel. I was a rebel back in the day, bro. I threw down, I had my boots and my everything. You named, I had it.
And then who would be your favorite hip hop artist since you said you're a big hip hop guy?
Yeah. Well, I'm always gonna. Well, I like the Tribe Called Quest. Tribe Called Quest for me is big, but Wu Tang, bro. It's all about Wu Tang. I love the Wu. And then in LA on the West Side, of course, I'm down with Dre and all them. But Cypress Hill was big to me back in the day too.
Oh, perfect. Yeah. Some Cypress Hill was more, you figure more like Latino rap, right?
Oh, Latino rap. Oh, I used to be crazy. Like, well, I like Latino DJs big time. Like Artie, the one man party, that was crazy. It was crazy. But if I go back, like Latino rap, again, Cypress Hill was big. Mellow Man Ace for me was big back in the day. Kid Frost was big for me back in being in North Hollywood and all down there. So I mean, I like that. But again, nowadays, man, nowadays you got to give it to like Bad Bunny, bro. You got to give it to all
Yeah,
the guys that are coming out with some new form of beats, right? And like, damn, sometimes I speak Spanish fluent. I still can't understand those fools, but I'm singing it, so whatever works. So. I mean, I'm down and I love dancing and all that stuff. So for me, all that works good, man.
perfect. And well, coach, that's all the questions I have for you today. It was an honor connecting with you and hopping on to have this chat with you, and wishing you all the best in your upcoming seasons and continuing your coaching journey. So it was an honor to connect with you.
I appreciate you. Thank you so much for taking the time, man. I love this conversation. You caught me on a couple, but I appreciate it. It was good stuff, and I hope you keep grinding too, man. And just like I said, never take no for an answer. Just keep pushing.
All right. Well, thank you, coach. Till next time, Coach Pena out.
Cheers. See you, man.